prime topic here deals with the readiness of Israel to build its third temple, and more ready right now than Israel has ever been. In fact, the news story on December 16, 2014 from the Jerusalem Post is one of the most powerful news stories I've seen recently and emphasizes the points I'll be making here. But this key December 16th news article is entitled, quote, United Nations official says that a one-state reality is on the party's doorstep, end quote, on the party's doorstep of Israel. And the United Nations envoy says that Israel being recognized by itself as a one-state solution is a nearing reality. Those are the exact words of the United Nations envoy in the news article, and he is exactly right. And the reason a one-state solution for Israel is a reality now is based on the facts which I detailed numerous times in recent live broadcasts and which bear repeating right now. And the number one hard fact is that the Gaza Strip Palestinians are terrorists, and everyone knows that Prime Minister Netanyahu and Israel are not going to shake hands with the terrorists. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made that abundantly clear. And the number two hard fact is when Israel squashed the Gaza Strip's infrastructure almost out of existence a few months ago in July 2014 in the 50-day conflict, then this whole concept of a so-called two-state solution was completely wiped off the table. Why do I say that? Because there is no Palestinian state, per se, anymore. They've been crushed and reduced to nothing more than a heap of rubble. And the news reports document the fact that it will take almost 20 full years to rebuild the Gaza Strip back to where it was before the 50-day conflict with Israel a few months ago. So those are the two prime reasons why the Gaza Strip Palestinians today are a total non-issue. Not to mention the fact that the Gaza Strip Palestinians aren't mentioned at all in the Bible and do not have any claim on the Holy Land whatsoever. And so with the Gaza Strip Palestinians being effectively removed from the equation, that leaves only one party left for today's world leaders to negotiate with, and that's Israel. And this is exactly what Bible Prophecies foretell. Now, somebody could respond right here by saying, well, the Muslim and the Arab world would never allow Israel to build their third temple. But that's completely naive, based on numerous reasons, like the fact that the Muslim and Arab enemies of Israel already know that their combined military capabilities wouldn't stand a chance in the face of Israel's sole superpower status in the entire Mideast region. Israel owns the entire Mideast militarily. In fact, the most recent example of Israel's military superiority was just over 3 weeks ago in the first week of December 2014, when Israel bombed 10 different locations in Syria, which Israel had identified as weapons and missile storage facilities, and no one in the Mideast said one thing about it afterwards, not even Syria. So this is my first prime point so far, that Israel is totally in control and dominates the entire concept and timing of when Israel will decide to build its third temple. And there's not a thing which Muslim enemies of Israel can do about it, not even militarily. And one other significant angle to Israel being ready to build her third temple is the fact that Israel's Knesset began debates right after the 50-day conflict on two historic major topics. One is making it legal for Jews to pray on the Temple Mount, and the second bill being hotly debated in the Knesset right now is to make Israel a legal Jewish state, another historic bill. Now, Israel's assertiveness towards the Temple Mount over the last few months is no accident that it's at the same time when Israel wiped the Gaza Strip Palestinians completely out of the picture regarding the two-state negotiations. And so at this point in today's end times, the only thing left is for Antichrist, the Pope of Rome, to step right into the global spotlight and orchestrate a 7-year agreement with Israel to build the third temple, as Daniel chapter 9 verse 27 foretells, and which is the actual next major end-time prophecy to occur in this generation. Now somebody might say right here, well, if the 7-year agreement were to be signed right now, that would be rather suddenly, wouldn't it? And the answer is yes. And that is precisely what the Gospel of Luke chapter 21 verse 34 forewarns, saying that the final 7-year period would begin suddenly and when most people aren't paying close attention. So the stage is set right now for the inevitable being the start of the 7-year tribulation period. Now, once the tribulation does begin, then another person could say, well, what about the Dome of the Rock? The Muslims will never allow Israel to level it and to destroy it. Here again, this is naive to end-time chronology, which allows for the Dome of the Rock to still be standing in its place even at the start of the tribulation. However, within weeks or maybe months into the tribulation, when Israel's miraculous one-day military victory takes place on Israel's own mountains, as shown in Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39, then the massive earthquake divinely occurring on that same day, as Ezekiel 38:19 states, could effectively destroy the entire Dome of the Rock's existence in 1 second. And then, right after the Dome of the Rock is divinely demolished, and with no military hindrances to Israel whatsoever anymore, since Israel will have just wiped them out on her own mountains, is when Israel will quickly build its third temple in the remaining months of the first half of the 7-year tribulation period, and then the temple will be completed by the middle point of the 7-year tribulation. And so that's the precise end-time chronology which is coming in terms of the building of the third temple and the very feasible demolishing of the Dome of the Rock. And another highly important prophecy to also point out is that the coming 7-year agreement of Daniel chapter 9 verse 27 only identifies 2 parties to sign it, being Antichrist, the Pope of Rome, and end-time Israel. However, as I've said before, could other world leaders sign on to the 7-year agreement, like the United Nations, or the European Union leaders, or the United States, or even Muslim leaders like Mahmoud Abbas himself, even with some kind of a 2-state solution terminology in the 7-year agreement? It's very possible. But that's entirely secondary as to who else could sign on to the 7-year agreement, since Bible prophecies definitely do not require any of this in any way. So again, that's the chronology for the nearing third temple, and those are Daniel chapter 9 verse 27's 2 parties to stay focused on right now, who are already in historic talks which are leading to the start of the 7-year tribulation period, as exclusively shown at Heisnear.com. And again, those 2 parties to keep an eye on are end-time Israel and Antichrist, the Pope of Rome.